Good evening, everyone. To my fellow African diaspora, I hope wherever you are listening from, you are having a wonderful day. Today, I woke up to the news that the country of Germany have decided to give $1.3 billion to the country of Namibia and are accepting responsibility for the atrocities that that country committed in Namibia over a century ago. While 1.3 billion sounds like a lot of money, let's not forget the level of the crimes that were committed against the people of Namibia. $1.3 billion for the death of millions of our ancestors. That is unacceptable. That is a drop in the bucket. While we appreciate Germany for even acknowledging that what they did is equivalent to genocide, a lot more is yet to be done. While we appreciate Germany taking the first step, we would hope that the rest of the colonizers can also follow suit. We thank you, Germany, for the 1.3 billion, but is nowhere near the compensation that is needed in order to make this situation equitable. Billions more, if not trillions, have and must be paid to the people of Namibia. If we were to look at the remains of our ancestors that are also still in the hands of the Germans, if we were to take into consideration the artifacts, the African artifacts that are still littering the museums across Europe, and that's not just in Germany, it's in all the cities that belong to the former colonizers. We're hoping that this marks the beginning of what would be reparations that are long past due to the Africans. This marks the beginning of the conversations that must take place between the various African capitals and our former colonizers. Germany is just one of them. And we appreciate you for acknowledging that you indeed are responsible for committing some of the worst crimes against humanity in the country of Namibia. We are looking forward to a time all of Europe, all the former colonizers can say once and for all, the abuse of Africa must come to an end. We're looking forward to a time when all the colonizers can also acknowledge that their museums are full of looted material from Africa, trillions of dollars of timeless pieces that you are blatantly refusing to return back to Africa to their rightful owners. We're also looking forward to a time when we can have a meaningful conversation with the European governments that are still holding on to the remains of the Africans who they murdered. What they are holding on to is evidence of a crime, evidence of many crimes that were committed across the African continent, crimes that no one was ever held responsible for. While as Africans, we are not asking for revenge. We are simply asking that those governments, former colonizers of the African continent, they must do what is right, they must do what is just, and they must do what is fair and return the remains of our ancestors for proper burial. We are also asking all of you, the museums, the institutions, the churches, religious organizations, financial institutions that have benefited from slavery, that have benefited from the abuse of the Africans, that continue to benefit from the possession of what belongs to the Africans. We're also asking you to do the right thing and return what belongs to the Africans. Let's be clear about one thing. If any of the African countries were to have a single bond of one of the European members from any of the former colonizers, that situation would not be tolerated, not even for a minute. What right then do you have for insisting on keeping the remains of our ancestors? What right do you have to continue to hold on to the loot, the stolen property that you took out of Africa centuries ago? It is mind-boggling to think that as Africans, we are being made to beg, to plead, to just take back what is ours, what was stolen from us, to get back the remains of our ancestors who you murdered. Is it because the victims are Black people that you don't think we matter? Is it because the abuse was meted against the Africans that it doesn't matter? Where else on earth would such behavior be tolerated? How do these former colonial governments continue to justify their behavior? This is 2021. So yes, while we celebrate Germany accepting responsibility and agreeing that the crimes against humanity, the atrocities committed against the people of Namibia, that was genocide. We appreciate that, but that's not enough. Proper compensation must be given to the people of Namibia. 1.3 billion is nothing. A lot more must be done. So we're counting on you to do the right thing. That figure needs to be much higher. The compensation, it should be huge. It should be commensurate to the crimes that were committed. While you have led the way, we're looking forward to your fellow former colonizers in doing the same thing. We're also grateful to President Macron for having acknowledged the fact that France may have had a role to play in the Rwandese genocide. Again, that acknowledgement fell short of an apology, but again, it's also a step in the right conversation. And I would hope that more conversations will be coming, particularly from President Macron of France to the rest of the African countries, especially former colonies. So words alone are not enough. We like to see action. We like to see action coming out of France. We applauded you, President Macron, for having ratified a law in your parliament where you no longer required African governments to deposit their bank reserves into your central bank. However, that was just a mere proclamation. The realities on the ground are different. The systems that were put in place for these funds to flow from the central banks of the African nations to your central bank are still in place. As such, the funds are still flowing to your central bank. We are also asking you to not just use words, but translate your words into action. The flow of funds from the African central banks of the former French colonies have got to stop. President Macron, we are counting on you as the children of Africa in the diaspora to do the right thing, to do what is just and what is fair, and truly acknowledge the responsibilities, acknowledge France's role in the abuse of the Africans in Africa. But more importantly, commit to putting an end to it. This is a situation that can no longer be tolerated. It's no longer sustainable. So we hope you can continue to engage our African leaders in meaningful conversations that are going to see us engaging France on a basis that is equitable, treating each other as equal, and putting an end to the chronic abuse that has lasted for far too long. Thank you, African diaspora, for taking the time to listen to me. But I just felt that it's very important that we're clear about what is happening in Namibia and the fact that this is not time to celebrate, but that it is a beginning of a long journey to true healing and true mending of relationships with our former colonizers. A lot more is yet to be done. We're looking forward to the day when all of them are going to unanimously accept responsibility and begin the journey to mending our relationships and bring the much needed healing. Thank you. Have a good night.
That was good as usual. I've stopped the recording.
Okay, good.
So on Facebook, 15 people have already shared it. And
okay.
So we'll soon see the numbers coming up. And then in about half an hour, when it's downloaded, I'll send it to Godfrey.
Okay, sounds good.
I was looking at the last one. So the last one, the Facebook messages are the Facebook views are now 4.6 thousand. And the YouTube views are 4.8 thousand.
Okay,
so
wonderful,
10.
Wonderful.
Of Africa. Happy Africa Day.
You are watching the Pan-African Daily TV with Dr. Susan Tata. The Africa we want: unity, consciousness, our culture, our spirituality, our history. One Africa for Africans worldwide. Motherlands calling its diaspora home. Join my voice. Join my team. Join my campaign. Campaign 21 hashtag 1 million subscribers on the Pan-African Daily TV YouTube. Be a volunteer. Apply now. Be the new Africa.